And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Neoville. This is from Blue Orange Game. It's from renowned designer Phil Walker Harding, who's on fire making tons of games, but it's a very simple game. You are building a beautiful area, land, trying to make it have harmony points. All right, fine. And I don't say fine because of that. It's just that the theme doesn't really matter. This is a very abstract game. In this, you're building a 4x4 city and putting towers into it, but you're kind of pushing your luck a little bit as you place these skyscrapers and different other utilities and things in it. You want to kind of predict what you're going to do in the future, but you know what? Let me show you. Each player is going to start with 3 tiles. They have special tiles that are turn order tiles, mostly because there are special things on these tiles. The tiles are a grouping of 4 different terrains, but there's also parks and sports centers on them. So you'll have one that's for your turn order number, and then 2 more drawn. There's a face-up pile of 4 in the middle of the table. On your turn, the first thing that you have to do is you put a tile in your city. So obviously the first one you just put in front of you. After that, you can connect it, and now you don't have to match anything. You can do whatever you want. But what you're doing is, as you build this, you're making a 4x4 grid. So once I put this tile here, for example, I can no longer put any tile at the top or the bottom. I've now defined it that way. And if I build it like this, for example, now I have my grid. This is going to, everything is locked in. So like I said, the first thing you do is you put out the tile. After you put a tile on the board, you can put out a skyscraper or utility. This is optional, you don't have to do it. So for each of the different types, there are skyscrapers that go from 12 is the highest, all the way down to 4. And so I put it on the tile I just placed in the terrain that it matches. Now what this means is at the end of the game, I'm going to get points for this skyscraper if this area is 4 or greater. If I don't do it, I'll lose 4 points. So as I'm placing tiles, let's say this is my first tile, I can take the 12 and put it here, but I better be careful then that as I'm putting tiles out, that I keep placing them in such a way so as to make it so that this, area gets to be 12 or not, because if I don't, I'm going to lose those 12 points. So there's only one of each number, so there's 12, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. And you can pick those, but once each number is taken, another player can't take that number, although there's a number for each type of terrain. Now there's also utilities, and in each game you're going to play with 2 of the 3 different types. So here's one of each of these types. Now these types are going to score differently based on which type it is. Now normally, if I have basically a skyscraper in one of these, I can't place another skyscraper in that same exact district, but you can put a utility where you have a district. So the easiest utilities here are these windmills, because they simply give you points at the end of the game as long as they're in the section where it shows. So this shows in the top row of your 4x4 grid. As long as it's in that area, you get those points. Then these are going to give you points. You're going to look at the row and column in which it's placed. So this here says I need to have 4 of these sports centers or parks in the same row and column. So if I put it here, for example, there's a park here and a sports area there. So that's 2, but I need at least 4, and then that gives me 5 points. And then the little vehicles here, the biodomes, these, as long as the area that you're in, if it matches the shape shown on it, then it will score you that many points. That's pretty much the whole game. You play a tile, possibly place something out, then draw a new tile from the face-up ones, and keep going. At the end of the game, you will add your positive points from your skyscrapers to your negative points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So the game comes with this insert, which is a cardboard insert, but I wanted to point it out because it works really well. You just kind of stick all the tiles in and they're going to fill it up. And then you have all these towers. You just throw these towers in. Now realize when you first get the game, it's going to take a while to slowly put all the towers together. That's going to be some work. But once they're together, they do stay together. The tiles themselves are... I'm not particularly interested in the terrain. I feel like they could have done a little bit better job instead of using the same the same thing each time. I mean, I just visually could have looked prettier, to the point where the parks are really nice, and these, like, oh, there's a sports center on the water, there's a sports center in the green. Those are cool, but it doesn't look that cool. But I guess it really doesn't distract you from how neat the towers look. I feel like the utilities all look the same. I might not have made the bottom part of them all sandy like this. I feel like these could have looked prettier, but I'm being real picky here. The rules are really simple because they're really short. So overall, the components for this game are fine. All right, so there you have it. That's Neoville. Now, we're not doing a full Four Squares review here at the Dice Tower, but I did want to tell you that the opinions here were split on this game. Myself and Chris really liked the game, while Mike and Z were not nearly as fond of it. So it's kind of a 50-50 there. Now, the people that I've taught it to have also enjoyed it, but then again, that's the feedback that I got from them. But it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I really liked the game, though. I felt like when you put down a tile, at the very beginning, it's fun. Like, you put down your first tile, I'll take a 12, right? But what if you can't make 12? And so you can take a 12 skyscraper and work, and you can pretty much make sure it's going to happen. But after a while, if you then take your next skyscraper takes also a 12, it's harder to make both of them happen. So you have to kind of guess what number range you're going to make each area as you put them out. Utilities are faster and easier, and I will say a negative thing I have about the game is that one of the utilities, the one that says having stuff in the same row and column, is much more interesting than the other two. And I always play with that one. And I usually play with, the other two are a little more simple, like put them in this spot, you get points. And utilities are kind of like so easy that you're going to run out of utilities better than skyscrapers. Not to mention, you can also tell at the end, like, oh, I'm not going to finish this. Well, I've lost the game because I'm about to lose 12 points. You can't have too many negative skyscrapers in this game unless other people are also doing that. But I don't mind because the game is literally 16 turns. You put out a tile, you put out something, and you go on. It's not very long. You're sitting there, and the only turn angst that you're going to have is going, do I take this skyscraper? I don't know. Maybe I'll take a 6. I can do a 6. And I find it interesting. And if you sit there and go, maybe I can do a 10. Oh, Susan already took the 10. So putting all that together makes this a fun, abstract game to me. And it also visually is appealing as you see all these skyscrapers and utilities in your 4x4 grid, and you're like, yeah, I did that. It's slightly slowish at the end because as you put out your last tiles, your grid has been defined, and you're done there. You're just kind of finishing up the skyscrapers, grabbing any remaining utilities that might work in that area. So I think the beginning and the middle is the strongest part of the game. But again, 16 turns. The box says 2 to 4 players, 45 minutes. I feel like 45 minutes is the longest that you'll take to play this. It's probably going to go a little shorter than that, and I don't mind. So I think it's fun. It's a neat visual thing. Trying to guess how big the areas will get felt like something different, so that's what I think. Neoville. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved.